Okay, we've all heard about the ketogenic diet and how much different it is than our traditional.
I don't get triggered much, but this is going to trigger me. I'm wearing glasses so you can't see me crying. Now, first of all, just to set the tone for the video, this is a critique video. I'm a fan of GCN, and I do rate a lot of the content. I send a lot of people to GCN, so I'm a fan of GCN. I'm glad GCN's around. Yeah, some people say they're just a corporate company pushing product. That's corporate life, but they do a great service of giving free tips for bicycle mechanics, etc. So I'm glad GCN's here. All right, I think GCN is the tide that rises many boats. Let's get into it. This is keto versus high carb. We have Jeremy here, and let's get into it. I'll pause it as I have a comment. Let's go.
Daily eating habits, but only eating fat? Won't you die of a heart attack? But you might or you might not know that the ketone has been described by many as the fourth macronutrient: fat, carbohydrate, protein, and yes, ketones. Now, our body naturally makes ketones from our liver when there isn't enough sugar on board. It burns fat and it produces ketones instead.
It also burns up your muscle.
Now, as cyclists, we're trained to carb up rice, pasta, pastries. Everything is fair game when you're riding hard. But what happens to your power, sleep, endurance, body weight when you switch out those high carb foods for fats like bacon, avocados, coconuts, butter? Welcome to high carb versus keto.
Oh, so what happens is that your muscle glycogen disappears straight away and you bonk, right? Your performance just tanks in proper ketosis. You burn up muscle. You get anxious, you get keto crotch, your breath stinks, your hydration levels go down, your potassium levels go out of whack, you suffer. And if you want any evidence of that, just go to some of my videos where I show you Alberto Contador and Lance Armstrong, where they bonk when they go into ketosis and their body's running on ketones, and they're getting dropped. They're struggling to do 150 watts, literally 150 watts. All right, so if you want to ride at 150 watts, then keto for you. But even why would you want to do that? You know, you're going to have no power. Your recovery's going to be shot. All right, so let's get into it. That's what happens when you're keto. Let's go. Now, all that oil makes your red blood cells stick together. So it's like reverse blood doping.
Today's video is not going to be a deep dive into all the technical aspects of ketosis in the ketogenic diet. My good friend Oliver Bridgewood actually already did that video here on GCN, and he did it really well. Today's video is going to be more of what happened to me when I went from 500 grams of carbohydrates doing super hard intervals.
500? That's not a lot of carbs at all. My girlfriend Natasha is a ballerina, ex-ballerina. She has bedroom ballet now, but she does about 500 a day. 500 calories a day, that's not 500 carbs a day. So that's not much at all, especially if you're training. That's not much at all. That's not much at all. You're going to be using a lot of coffee, a lot of Ritalin, etc. to have energy, and just on 500 grams of carbs a day, that's not much at all. That's only 2,000 calories. You burn that in 2 hours.
5 and 20 minutes. And then what happened when I went to super low carb, completely ketogenic state, 5 20-minute efforts, and basically my entire journey over the last couple of weeks of the good, the bad, and the ugly. Now, for anybody that doesn't know about the ketogenic diet, very simply, it's a super low carbohydrate.
It's Dr. Atkins. Dr. Atkins was obese when he died of heart disease.
Diet. It involves your body producing a chemical called a ketone. Now, to get there, basically you don't eat any carbohydrate or sugar, and you stick to a very strict diet, which we're going to talk all about.
Got a picture here of, first of all, why even bother eating? Why, like, if your goal is weight loss, why wouldn't you just fast? Why go and do a ride and burn 2,000 calories from fat, and then go and eat 2,000 calories from fat to replace the fat you just burned off? Like, that makes no sense. So most people want to go do keto for weight loss, then just don't eat, just fast, which you know is stupid anyway. But like, you're in ketosis, so you might as well be in a keto world. If you're going to do ketosis, why not do ketosis with fasting versus ketosis with replacing the fat you're just burning off? Like, why have sub-poor performance and risk your health and everything and risk crashing because you can't focus in ketosis and eating all this fat to replace the fat you're trying to burn off? It makes no sense. Here's a picture of a little, this almost looks like Ollie, this little face here. This is a little, what is this thing? This is like a little caterpillar with the eyebrows. It's a chocolate. and it would have a lot of sugar in there, but also have a lot of fat. Probably got 50% calories from fat. So this is not a good representation of carbohydrate. This is a 50-50. This is a carb-fat 50-50. A representation of carbohydrate would be rice, sugar, or bananas, or some pure carbohydrate food.
But first, we're gonna eat a regular carbohydrate-laden lunch, and then we're gonna go out and tear up some 5 and 20-minute efforts, fully carved up, to see what we can do. All right, so
first of all, sorry, you're not fully carved up with one little plate of lunch. The glycogen is going to be stored from the day's previous carbohydrate consumption. So you're having a plate of, it looks like you had like maybe 800 calories there, maybe a few hundred grams of carbs in one plate. That's not carved up. All right, that's not carved up at all.
So we're waiting for lunch to be done. Today's lunch is a frozen burrito that I'm warming up. Delicious burrito, no meat for lunch. Just go with the carbohydrates. It's done. I'm gonna add a couple tortilla chips, some salsa, some avocado, maybe a little greens next to it.
It's still a reasonably fatty meal, and the fat will block the glycogen production. So,
regular, just
it's nothing. That's tiny. That's tiny. That's a lot of fat there. That's probably like at least 30-40 grams of fat, and you're probably looking at maybe 40 to 50 grams of carbs. That's a 50-50. That's not a high carb meal at all. That's not a high carb meal at all. Looks tasty, but that's not a high carb meal. That's a 50% calories coming from fat meal. That's almost that's not carbs.
life, delicious. So let's get into this.
So we're just finishing up our warm up before we
Eating that, you want to have a coffee afterwards because all that fat is going to be in your bloodstream. It's going to make you feel sludgy, especially on a hot day.
hit out for this first 5-minute effort, fully carved up.
Dude, you had like 40 to 50 grams of carbs. You're not fully carved up. I'm getting triggered right now. I'm going to have to double book my therapist this week.
You guys saw what I had for breakfast, and now it's time to do the work. After that, I'm gonna do a 20-minute effort. Again, all carved up, hopefully. It is warm out today, 94 degrees right now, pretty high humidity, but
Nice.
legs feel good, heart rate's reactive, so fingers crossed. Here we go, 5 minutes.
These are great camera angles, by the way. This is good filming by GCN. He's got a physique like Peter Sagan, big legs, little upper body.
30 seconds. 3, 2, 407. Is it me or does it smell like bacon? Whew, so that was a good.
So 405, 407 watts. Says he's about the same fitness as I am. I can do a little bit more than that, but he might be a little bit less than body weight. Yeah, we look about the same.
Good 5-minute rip. We got now coming up this big 20-minuter right here in town. Same climb that I used for the FTP test, 7 FTP tests in a row. All right, guys, 20 minutes. Let's go.
And nice smooth roads, aren't they?
Yeah, come on, buddy, come on. Oh my gosh.
So 20-minute 3, he's about the same fitness as me. About the same fitness as me.
It was painful, that 20 minutes. I just had nothing. I think it was just the heat and everything. I was totally empty at the end of that. So best I could do on the day. Let's see what happens when we do it in keto life.
Low carb and loving it. This is the first breakfast that we've got here. Avocado with a little bit of olive oil, salt, pepper, some eggs, scrambled eggs, and bacon. I'm definitely hungry. All right, so.
That's a tiny meal. I would be starving just eating that. Also, we've got to consider that Jeremy had his carbohydrate dinner and what he ate afterwards yesterday. So he's not in ketosis. He's just his first high-fat meal. So he still have his glycogen from yesterday.
Update, first day of low carb, and you guys saw breakfast. That was eggs, avocados, bacon, super easy. But now I'm going for lunch. I've had just a little bit of apple, but my goal today isn't to go fully ketogenic to go under what I would consider to be ketogenic, being like less than probably 40 grams of carbohydrates for me. I'm gonna shoot more for like 100, 150 today.
Hang on, that ain't ketogenic. I'll call that insufficient carbohydrate.
It's not a ton of carbohydrate, and it's going to be a significant change from what I normally do, but I'm prepping lunch right now, and I just don't want to go through the whole, people talk about the keto flu, where if you go completely no carbohydrate on the first day, boom, like that, you don't feel great. At least
You feel like absolute crap, because your body's saying, dude, where's the carbs? And the keto circus will say, you got to do fat adaptation for 5 to 6 weeks to get all the benefits. You got to feel like crap for 5 to 6 weeks. No one's doing that, you know. And there's people out there who claim they're doing keto for years and they're guzzling like a bottle of wine a night. That's not keto, all right? So I put a $50,000 challenge out 10 years ago for an athlete in ketosis to beat me in a marathon or a 10K or any sort of bike challenge. And yet someone hasn't taken up on an offer. Yet. Genuine ketosis.
At least the last time that I tried doing this, I really didn't. So today I've got here, can show you guys, I've just got some stuff kind of made up here, which is gonna be some spinach that I'm gonna cook down, one little tortilla, I'm gonna put some cheese on there, and then I'm gonna have a little bit of apple.
First keto meal, or the second keto meal, has bread in it, and bread and fruit.
And a bunch of other fats to go on top of it. So probably some more avocado and some other stuff as well, so.
A little bit of bread there will definitely kick you out of ketosis. This isn't keto. This is insufficient carb.
All right, GCN crew, let's see what we weigh in at today. I was about 159 when
You feel Jeremy's energy from day one, where he was all bouncing off the walls. Now he's like, no. He doesn't look his usual popping self.
I started this, so.
Talking at like 100 watts versus his typical 400 watts.
Let's see what she says here. 154. So I've lost over 5 pounds of water weight since I started doing this.
That's good that he acknowledges his water weight.
We're getting pretty close to keto life. So basically, first thing when I wake up, fasted ride. This should
Just dehydrated as losing that water weight, because he's already lean. This guy's already very lean. So for him to lose that many pounds in a lean state, he's losing hydration, he's losing blood plasma, he's losing blood volume.
get the ketone bodies moving, and I should be feeling like pretty good by the end of this, especially if I don't eat anything and my body, yeah, everything goes to plan. Fingers crossed that I blow into full-blown ketosis today after about 5 days of trying now.
Being ketosis on the first day if you're doing it properly.
All right, so I've just gone over the first couple of climbs.
Sorry, it only takes a 2-hour ride to go into ketosis. A 2-hour hard ride with no eating carbohydrate will put you in ketosis. 2 hours. It's taking 5 days. This is weird.
To get out on my ride, and yeah, the legs, they don't feel great on zero carbohydrates.
Yeah, that's typical. Your legs feel like junk.
Started my day out, fasted, did a couple work emails and meetings, and now I'm on the bike to ride for, I think, about 90 minutes or so, just to try to get into a fully ketogenic.
Is it just me, or does anyone else get cracked when I see people's jerseys zip all the way up and it's cutting off their vein there, and it's a hot day out? I don't know who started this fashion of the jersey zip up all the way. It cracks me.
Ketogenic state today. It's Monday, the sun's shining, it's hot, so got some sunscreen on. I want to say the legs feel good, but they don't. They just don't.
Can you feel, is it just me, or can you feel Jeremy's vibe? He's a bit like solemn, it's depressed, he's a bit like, he says he's not feeling good, his vibe's lower. So when you're in ketosis, you're missing out on high vibe life. And when you for me, quality life's everything. Doesn't matter what you're eating. If you're not feeling good because you're in ketosis, it's like, man, that's life sucks. Oh man. I want to live life at 400 watts, not 100 watts.
Don't. All right, it was like 90-ish minutes fasted, even a little more. I'm super parched. I'm really...
Look at his vibe, man. He would not get a job on GCN as a presenter with this sort of vibe. If this was Jeremy's average vibe, which it isn't, fortunately, you know what I mean? Can you imagine how many opportunities you miss in life because of ketosis?
hungry. I haven't eaten in like almost 15 hours. So definitely ready to eat something, ready to get some fluids in me, some electrolytes, and looking forward.
Hasn't eaten for 15 hours, so he's really getting into ketosis sort of still now. Also, that's the thing with ketosis. You have to do intermittent fasting. You got all this starvation because you're eating so much fat that you have to put yourself in a mad calorie deficit to try and burn off the fat. You're trying to burn fat, and then you're eating more fat. It's just like cleaning your jersey with mud. It's like cleaning your bike with dirty grease. It's insanity.
Forward to feeling a little bit better. Hopefully this fasted ride, this big fasted session from last night up to today, now will give me that bump to get me over the hump, get my body producing some ketones and starting to utilize them for some energy.
All right, so I came back from the ride. I had to hop into a meeting that went an hour long. So I'm really brewing now, and I know that I'm producing some amount of ketones because I haven't eaten in like 18 hours. I'm starving. I'm truly cannot wait to make lunch after this, or whatever we'll call it. But I have this ketone meter here. It checks.
Another thing with what ketosis does is it creates overeating. Like you can see Jeremy's like going, dude, where's the food? And I've worked at water fasting clinics before. I've helped people do water fast for like 21 days. So I can really have a lot of personal experience here. I've done fast myself. So you can tell that this is what happens is he's almost thinking, man, I guarantee you, in that meeting he just did, the 1 hour meeting, his body be thinking the whole time, pizza, sugar, ice cream, donuts, just carbohydrate, chocolate bars, fruits, smoothies, juices, sugar. The whole time. He wouldn't be able to focus properly in the thing. He'd be daydreaming, just thinking, oh man, I need some carbs, The whole time your thoughts are just carbs. It's like if you're really horny, you're just thinking, boom, 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 or you need to go to the toilet. Imagine being busting to go to the toilet for a dump or a whiz. All you can think about, your body's just going, dude, go to the bathroom, go to the bushes, get out of here. So same with ketos. All you can think about is food. It creates an obsession with food, like a full-on obsession.
Both glucose and ketones. So I'm going to do this now. I'm going to prick my finger, get a little sample of blood. I'll put it on one of these little sticks, and it will give me a number, and then we'll know where we're at.
This is what you have to do with ketosis. You have to do all this clicking your fingers, and it's like, oh my God, so much faff for less performance.
Okay, so we are at 0.4 officially.
I've been having a super hard time getting into full-blown ketosis. I'm definitely not doing something right. Something's just not working. So I started to think about some friends that...
He's sneaking carbs because he's hungry, man. He's an athlete. He's a high-energy person. This is torture for... if you're a high-energy person like Jeremy, this is torture, man. His personality is outgoing and bubbly, and for him to be in ketosis, it's torture.
Know about food, could potentially give me some moral support. And one person that came to mind was my good friend, Seamus Mullen. And Seamus is a cyclist, he's a chef, he's an author, he's written 2 books, Hero Food and Real Food Heals. And they're all about how to use food to feel better. And he's done the ketogenic thing on and off for a super long time. And we've had a lot of conversations about it. So I figured I'd get him up on the line and hopefully he'd give me some tips and pointers on how to maybe make this go a little bit smoother.
This is how hard it is. You need moral support. Vegan life, carb life is like rice, sugar, fruit. Eat as much as you want. Bread, pizza, get it going. Keto, you're like, oh my God. So now he's in depression phase. He needs moral support.
Seamus, I'm in a pinch. I need your advice, as always, on food things. Talk to me. Tell me what you know
That cup of coffee there.
about the keto stuff.
So what's probably happening, and this is a common pitfall for folks when they first experiment with keto, is that it's hard to actually get your
This is actually sweet drink. I haven't had a cup of coffee since 1999.
fat levels high enough to get you into deep nutritional ketosis. And by having those higher levels of protein, you actually are kicking yourself out of ketosis. So
you've got to eat more fat. So you're burning fat, and this guy here says you've got to eat even more fat. So let's say you burn 300 grams of fat in a day. In keto world, you've got to eat another 300 grams. So what are you doing? You're burning up all the fat, and then you've got to eat more fat. It's just stupidity.
So you're going through something called gluconeogenesis, where you're actually converting the protein into glucose. And so we really want to make sure, and that's one of the hard things about when you do half-ass keto, you actually don't benefit from keto as much as actually going into a deep dive of ketosis.
Half-ass keto versus deep dive keto. So apparently Jeremy's been eating too much protein. So he has to live on coconut oil now. What? Oh, this is just stupid.
The fasted bike rides in the morning are great. That's a great start. I mean, that's what I do every day. You know,
Guy doesn't even look like a cyclist. Why would Jeremy, who's an elite level cyclist, who's pushing out good watts, take advice from a guy who looks like he'd struggle to do 200 watts? Like, it's crazy.
Sometimes I cheat a little bit, and I do have some ketone esters in the morning before I ride. But you know that anything
cheats and has ketone. What? Like, this is a gobbly, gargly, googly duke.
We're up to like a 2.5 hour, 3 hour bike ride in the morning. I do in a fasted state.
This guy, he's doing 3 hour fight. He doesn't look lean at all. He looks tired and washed out. Look how tired he looks. This is summertime. This isn't winter. I'm in winter now. Look, maybe washed out. This is in America, the northern hemisphere, where it's summer and you should have your summer glow on. This guy looks tired, man. Is it just me, or does this guy look tired as, and bags under his eyes and washed out? You know, and that's not me saying he's a bad dude. I'm just saying this is just a biological readout. And I would look exactly the same as well if I was trying to do low carb.
Feels so much better when I do that.
Yeah. And what do you think about just adding like oil on top of things, whether it's olive oil or avocado oil? Because that's where I feel like if I'm gonna up stuff, because I don't feel like I can eat any more than I'm eating. Like I feel very satiated. And I think, like you said,
greased out. I mean, how much bacon can you eat? It's like, you just make yourself sick, die.
My spidey sense is that my protein was too high, and the gluconeogenesis thing is real for me.
Now, the thing that, again, to be careful is that if you are protein heavy and you're just adding more fat, then you're going to create this surplus of calories. Because think about how much, how many calories are in 2 tablespoons of olive oil.
I thought keto was like the magic silver bullet where you can just eat as much fat as you want. And as long as you didn't eat carbs, you lean out. So now they're saying you got to be careful on keto not to eat too much fat. It's like, what the fuck? At first they say fat doesn't make you fat, and now they're saying don't eat too much fat because you'll get a surplus of calories, which will make you fat. It's like, oh my God.
Well, it's not insignificant. You're adding 40, 50 calories as you go, and that's going to add up. So, for an athlete, it's not such a big deal, but if you're really trying to trim down and lose weight, then it is a big deal because you're not going to get you're not going to access the white fat and start burning your own white fat. So
what is this guy talking about?
Yes, add that fat in, but make sure you're doing.
Don't have the fat in. White fat, don't do the fat. Calories in, calories, like what?
It so that you're not topping off your total caloric intake too high.
How much is too high? How much? There's no numbers here.
Got it.
Is definitely in ketosis. The first sign of ketosis is you are vague, man. You are vague as. I call them vegans, not vegans, but vegans. A ketogenic vegan.
Got it. Okay, then. Yeah, I definitely think now having just chatted it out, I think for sure the protein's too high because I was eating, the other day I just had I had a steak, I had eggs in the morning, a steak, I had lots of nuts and stuff like that. So you're right, the protein's way too high without enough fat, and I need to add.
Oh my God! Now all you're allowed to have is butter and oil.
Add in oil. It is a little hard to get over the hump. I have to say that for me, I think is the thing is it's like you go from so many carbohydrates.
Strawberries will kick you out of ketosis as well. As strawberries will kick you out, especially if they're sweet enough. If they're Californian strawberries.
Hydrates and so many weird different things. And you
butane guys are vegan.
You shrink the foods that you can't eat way down, and then now all of a sudden, I'm eating just a lot more fat, really.
Yeah, it's a hard thing.
Jeremy doesn't look happy about that. Compare who would you want to save you on top? Let's say you're in a gully, right? And you've broken your leg, and this Seamus guy and Jeremy are there, and you've got ketogenic Seamus or you've got high-carb Jeremy to ride to the top of the mountain to get help on the phone reception. Who would you pick? All right? And it's a 5-hour climb out of the mountain, and they both got bikes, same bikes. Who would you pick? Ketogenic Seamus or high-carb Jeremy to save your life? To get the help. I'm picking high-carb Jeremy.
To be sustainable, because I think for a lot of people, there's one thing called dirty keto, which is what...
They've got dirty keto. Half-assed keto, dirty keto, full keto, dirty keto.
Is the easiest way to jump into it, and that's just eating a ton of cheese, eating butter on everything, slathering fat everywhere.
Hang on, if keto's so clean, why are they calling it dirty keto? If fats are clean, butter's good for you, why are they calling it dirty keto?
And it's not really.
Keto isn't carte blanche to just eat bad fat. The quality of the fat is really, really important.
Fat's fat, 9 calories per gram. Like, oh my man, these guys are just contradicting themselves all the time.
Particularly when you're looking at animal protein. So if you're looking at animal fats and proteins, you want to make sure they're coming from really, really good sources. There's a big difference between eating grass-fed beef and eating conventional grain-fed beef. And that's going to, in fact...
How? 100 grams of grain-fed beef is the same as grass-fed beef. It's the same thing. It's got the same hormones naturally occurring in it. Well, this guy, is he serious? 100 grams of beef from a cow that eats grain is going to be different from 100 grams of... That's insane.
Affect actually how your body...
Notice how he didn't explain the differences there? This guy is talking wishy-washy. Jeremy's thinking... Look, Jeremy's looking at the screen going, this dude is like cooked.
Processes the fats. How do you feel though when you do get those moments of dipping into ketosis? Do you feel a little different on the bike? What is your performance like?
I honestly feel awesome. I do. I feel super energetic. I feel
just before Jeremy's saying his legs felt dead. Now he's saying he feels super awesome. Like, which one is it?
almost like really sprightly and excited to go about my day. And I feel.
Hang on. We just saw him saying he felt like crap. And now he's changing his story. If this was a court of law, the fat barrister would say, hang on, Mr. Jeremy, you said before you felt bad. Now you say you feel good. Which one is it? And the jury would be like, yeah.
Feel like a great boost of what feels like serotonin. You know what I mean? Like it feels like my brain is just really firing on all cylinders.
Get periods of that from increased cortisol. Definitely you'll get cortisol. That's why keto can lead to adrenal burnout because you're producing more cortisol. So that can happen for sure.
And I can conquer seemingly anything, and I never am frustrated. I never am like looking for a word to find. I really do enjoy when I get those little moments. And
little moments. There we go. Thank you, Jeremy. So Jeremy is being more clear now. He gets moments of euphoria, and you get that when and sometimes when you're in ketosis as well, you get these moments of euphoria. That's cortisol. That's cortisol and adrenaline, just making you feel amazing. All right, but that's not healthy. That's you burn yourself out. That's like putting a shotgun to your head to get you motivated to do stuff. You get the adrenaline spike, the cortisol spike, but it's very short term. All right, it's not good long term. It burns you out.
I've been checking my ketones on a little meter that I have here just to see what they come in at, and I've been as high as close to 1, which obviously is not full blown, but even when I'm close to 1, I feel like, wow, this is awesome. So I've had moments, but I keep kicking myself out. When I wake up, I'm not in. It's when I come back from my ride and after. So it's very clearly my hump. I'm almost certain now is the protein, and I'm not doing the dirty stuff. I think the fats that I'm choosing are, unfortunately they're too high quality, right? Like I'm going for more protein than I am fat. And so finding the right type.
Very vague. Yeah. Very vague.
Of fat is going to be my key. And so hearing what you're saying is what I absolutely need to do. And to answer your earlier question about how it's affected my cycling performance, you're right. I went through 3 or 4 days of really, I would call hell. It was hard. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I tiered myself down from 500, 400, 300 grams of carbohydrate a day, to basically like slicing that to 50 grams a day, which has been really hard on my body, and some really poor nights of sleep.
Bingo. So your recovery's down. So this is good that Jeremy's being honest. I don't feel Jeremy has a bias here at all. He's just reporting. So he has moments where he feels like crap. He doesn't sleep properly. His recovery's decreased. Recovery time is increased. So it's interesting.
I just, but now, like I said, I'm getting closer. I can see the light at the end of the tunnel, but it felt like my legs were like, the worst legs I've ever had my entire life. The last 5 days, I've never felt them be so depleted and dead. And useless. Like I was pedaling squares. It didn't even feel, nothing felt good.
Well, that's actually a good thing to experience, because now your body's starting to rebuild and reprogram. And
rebuild and reprogram, like, come on, Seamus, get into the metabolic pathway as you're talking here versus this gobbledygook. You're rebuilding and you're reprogramming. to ride at 100 watts for your FDP. You've gone from 350 FDP down to 100 watts.
And so when you reprogram and you learn how, you sort of treat your metabolism, how to access this ketogenic system, then you can become sort of work on two different fuel systems. It's almost like being a hybrid car where you can work.
This Seamus guy is very annoying. You're always burning some sort of fat and carbohydrate, Even when you're turning fat into ketones, you're using it as you're turning your fat into sugars to be used. So it's like you get
work on. You can be a carb burner, but you can also be a fat burner.
Everybody's that all the time now. Always. Right now, I'm burning a little bit of carbohydrate and burning a little bit of fat. I do 400 watts. I'm burning mostly carbohydrate, a little bit of fat. You're always a hybrid.
Burner.
I'm gonna crush this now. I feel like I've got your energy. I feel like I can see it. I feel it now. And I think I've got my bearings under me. I want to thank you for your time, and it's always good to see you. I'll let you know. I'll keep you in the loop on how I do this whole carbohydrate versus keto thing.
It's super interesting.
Thank you, Shaven.
All right, take care.
All right, everyone. So I just got back from a 2-hour ride, and it has finally been almost over a week and a day. And today is the first day that I'm in what we would call like a mild state of ketosis. But basically, my ketones that my body is producing, I'm able to measure, and it's just come out at 1. So I'm going to show you guys here. Give myself a prick, get some of this blood going. And I'm just gonna stick it onto this strip like I showed you guys before. Then it will bring it down here. Let's see what she's at now. I've had a couple snacks. 0.7. So I was at 1 when I came in from my ride, but I'm now at 0.7. So my body's fully starting to produce ketones.
Is it just me? I can see apples on the plate. Can we see apples? Let's have a look.
Now that it needs them, I'm really happy about that because now I can start the 5 and 20 minute tests over the weekend and get this video finished out with some cool findings. And I'm gonna.
This looks like a different plate.
Have my lunch because I'm starving, but I was really excited to share the news with you that we've broken that 0.04 threshold. We've made it to 1.0. I'm super excited about that. Upward and onward from here. All right, everyone, the moment of truth. Today's the day that I'm gonna go out and give it as hard as I can in a completely ketogenic state. So basically, I haven't eaten carbohydrates in almost about 9 or 10 days now.
You've been eating bread, strawberries, and apple on camera. Come on, guys, let's be real here.
So today I'm going to go out and I'm going to do that 5-minute and that 20-minute effort. One of the things that hasn't been great for me is my sleep has not been awesome in ketosis. I haven't really been able to nail that down, although I'm hoping over the coming days and weeks I'm able to figure out exactly what's going on with that and let me get.
You're going to sleeping on the forums. All these keto people are doing sleeping pills. You can't sleep properly because you're not producing enough serotonin and dopamine, so you can't sleep properly. So if you can't sleep properly, doesn't matter if you're an athlete or not, if you're a mum or a dad, if you can't sleep, your life quality is going down. Your hormones are going down, your mood's going down, everything's going down. If you can't get to sleep, you're really going down. And plus using caffeine, it's a good thing Jeremy's doing this quick, a little experiment here.
Get back in a little bit better.
All right, so 5 minutes, all out.
It's good to see he's measuring his power, his tire pressure, so he's keeping it objective. Same pressure, same bike, and he's using a power meter, so wind doesn't matter.
Keto, here we go.
Now, the face looks like he's in keto, like he's struggling. We'll see the watts to see if he really is in keto.
All right, here we go. 20 minutes, all out to the top. Let's see what we can do. Keto, here we go. Yeah, heart rate's 173. We're about 8 minutes in.
Very, very similar body to Sagan. I've ridden with Sagan a few times. It's a very similar body physique.
17 and a half minutes, 179 heart rate, 346.
You're not in ketosis if you can do 346 watts. You're not.
Come on, pal. Push it. Wow, that was crazy, you know? That was crazy. Like, so the weird thing is that my heart rate's already back at 110, you know, only a minute later. So let's take a look at some of the data that...
Bunk, man. That's bollocks. You are not in 350 watts in ketosis. You are not. Otherwise, how did Lance get dropped and struggle to do... How did Matthew Van Der Poel get dropped into world champs? He's doing like 100 watts because he ran out of sugar. All right, so Jeremy... Oh, man, this is...
that we were able to collect from doing this experiment. So we're gonna start out with the high carb day, which was July 23rd. Now I did two different tests, if you remember. I did a 5-minute all out test, and then I did a 20-minute like threshold all out effort. I weighed in at 72.5 kilograms for that. And for my 5-minute effort, I did 407 watts. And for my 20-minute effort, I did 341 watts. For a watts per kilogram of 5.61 for my 5-minute effort, and 4.7 for my 20-minute effort. Now,
yeah, so he's almost like identical to me around about, you know.
let's jump over to the low carb side. I did my 5-minute power at 391. I did my 20-minute power at 347. Now,
that's BS. There's no way you are doing 390 for 5s. There's no absolute impossible. And Lance Armstrong, Contador, Matthew Van Der Poel are proof on camera. They're in ketosis, struggling to do 100 watts, 150 watts. So there's no way Jeremy's doing 400 watts or 340. It's impossible. Jeremy, you snuck some carbohydrates, some extra carbs in to do this. It's absolute nonsense.
Body weight, 69 kilos. Yes, I was much lighter for this, in fact, and it is not insignificant, and it's real. So when you look at this, my 5-minute watts per kilogram is 5.66, and my 20-minute watts per kilo was 5.0. And if you guys don't know how the math on that is, basically you take your power output, you divide it by the amount of kilograms you have, and it gives you a number, and that's your watts per kilogram. So pretty clearly, I've gone faster at a higher watts per kilogram on the low carb side, not because of raw power output, but because of being lighter and my power to weight ratio being higher. So let's talk about a couple of other...
No, you were producing very, very similar power. The issue here is, I don't believe it. Why didn't you test your ketones on the start line of the ride? All right, this is absolute nonsense, Jeremy. You did not do that ride in ketosis, the last one. You did not.
Metrics that I measured when I was there. I used my Whoop band again this time, and on the high carb day, I was actually in the green, feeling really good, an HRV of 61 and a resting heart rate of 44, which for me is almost perfect. That's like an ideal day. I'm training.
Resting heart rate when I'm doing a lot of training is about 32.
Training hard on that day. I feel good. Everything's moving.
That means anything. Resting heart rate doesn't mean much.
Shaking. But on my low carb day, I had been having a hard time getting into ketosis, and my sleep was kind of going up and down, and this was not a good day, but I had already planned the day to shoot it, and I knew I was going out. So even though I was in the red, I had no idea what to expect, but my resting heart rate was lower at 42 and my HRV was 37. And so all that says is that on my high carb day, I was in the green, ready to go. And on my low carb day, I was not in my best state, and I still went faster. And that showed up too on my on the tools that we use to measure how far I went. I actually went further. I even broke my record that I set with the 7 FTP tests. I actually broke that on the low carb day. So I know that I did a lot of good work out there. I just can't tell you that I was expecting to go so much faster on the low carb day than I did on the high carb day. I was very much expecting.
Low carb day versus high carb day. Jeremy, I don't believe you were totally honest with us in terms of being in ketosis during this test. It's because you defy science. You defy everyone in professional cycling who's bonked in a race and gotten dropped because they were in ketosis. Now you're saying your performance increased in ketosis. I call BS in that one.
That my 5-minute high glycolytic, like sugar burning effort would definitely yield a better result. But because of my decrease in body weight and because of my ability to still put out a lot of power on that day, I was able to hang on and go faster in both of those tests in the low carb day. So let's talk about the conclusions of this crazy experiment that we just did. First, if you're going to consider doing
how Jeremy said low carb day. So he didn't fully lie to us. He didn't say I was in ketosis. So he's not, it's a bit of a half truth there. He didn't say, guys,